In Jiu-Jitsu, there are a lot of underlying science elements going on that people don't really think about. And that's why you'll see some things that look potentially real are actually complete bullshit. And being able to differentiate between this bullshit and this and true ideas that will actually work is very important. Being able to use science will help you with that. And so we're going to start with two very basic concepts of force and moment. And not only being able to differentiate between the bullshit and the truth using science, you'll also be able to turn what is usually intuitive into a more logical and repeatable understanding, which will help you get better more consistently. So let's start with force. We have a ball here with some mass, and anything that has mass, assuming you're on Earth, is going to have a force due to gravity on it. And a force can be thought of as the tendency to produce motion that translates. And we notate this with F sub g, F sub gravity, which is the force due to gravity. But you'll notice that a lot of things don't move. And that's because their net force is actually zero. If we see the blender here, the Blendtec blender, it's not actually moving because it has an opposite reaction with the normal force. And in the force couple, which is what we call these two things coupled together, these two forces, the net force is actually zero, so no motion occurs. That's why I said force is the tendency to produce motion in translation, not necessarily that it does produce motion. So, another concept that we're all very intuitively familiar with is rotation. And we're going to take the same ball, and instead of having a force act upon it towards its center of mass, which was, in the case of the ball, the very center of it, we're going to offset it just slightly from its center of mass. And this is going to cause a moment, which is going to tend to cause rotation. So the force definition that I introduced was that force is something that tends to cause motion in translation. A moment is something that tends to produce rotation on an object with mass. So we'll take a teeter-totter, for example, and we'll have a simplified form of this. And so we have these two balls here. And the two balls do not cause the bar to rotate. Now they still have the forces acting upon them downward from gravity, but because the fulcrum, the center there, is pushing against it because of the ground, it is not moving in translatory motion. However, if we take something a little different, like the Hulk and Steve-O, the Hulk is much bigger or much more massy or massive than Steve-O, and so his force due to gravity is going to be a lot larger. That's why the arrow is larger. Now, the force couple is still going to prevent the fulcrum and the bar from translating through the earth, essentially. However, we do have a moment on the bar now, and because there's nothing counteracting it, it is going to rotate. Now we can have this same idea happen without changing the actual forces. So here we have the forces, the same ones as earlier, and it's in balance. It's not rotating because the net moment is zero. But you'll notice the distances between the fulcrum and the balls are the same. So we can offset the fulcrum, and this will create a moment arm that is different. So you can see the moment arm, which is the distance between the fulcrum and the ball on the right, is now larger than the one on the left. So this is also going to produce a moment and cause it to rotate. So I'll talk a lot more about this stuff within the context of Jiu-Jitsu in future videos, But I just kind of wanted to get this started and see how people were interested. So if you have any questions, if anything was unclear or you want to know more, let me know in the comments.